I'm Terry Murphy, Senior Editor for Realty Times, Women in Business, Women in Real Estate in the Men's Room with Murph, and all things good for real estate. And today we are lucky to have back with us Mark Seiden, or as we affectionately call him, Mark 57, because he's 57 million ways amazing. He's been in real estate since the middle 90s, actually. And really, as a leader in the industry, has kicked up what we call ordinary into the extraordinary. And one of the specifics is his open house on steroids. Now, he's in Westchester County, not particularly a tropical paradise, and yet it doesn't make any difference. You have done some extraordinary fun, attention-getting, did I say fun things? And you started telling us because you realized the dynamic of an open house was rather dangerous in a way.
That's correct. So yes, we do really open houses on steroids, and I really appreciate you bringing it up that way, because now what we do with open houses is that we have 3 people during an open house. We bring our own table. We have a tablecloth, a custom tablecloth with our logo on it. We have bring our own chairs. We bring our own feather flags to advertise it. We created open house signs that actually have whiteboard on them. So on the whiteboard, we actually put the time of the open house and the address of the open house. We put out anywhere between 10 to 25 signs out per open house. We do anywhere between 2 to 4 open houses every weekend. During this time of year in the winter, where there's less listings coming on, we'll do 2 in one day. But during our prime time, we do, 4, 2 on each day, Saturdays and Sundays. And it's kind of off the rails. I mean, our open houses get more people than anybody, and it's great. But where you said at the beginning, how did it start? It really started was, I really had a hard time during our general open house that a real estate agent was in a house, which is always vacant, whether people are living there, there's furniture or not, that house is vacant. At a time where there's strangers coming in, we have no idea who they are, and they're going into one of our houses to see one of my agents when we don't know who that person is with no witnesses. So I came up with a very professional answer to that. Yeah, no, I just don't think so. So it really started with us just hiring an admin person, or actually using the admin person I had, but switching the hours to weekends to kind of sit with my open house agent. And that was an admin person. And the great news is I had the admin person then putting out all those for sale signs, writing all the times and addresses in the for sale signs. Oh, I forgot balloons. Of course we have balloons. How can we do it without balloons? And setting up the tables and chairs. So what was really great was I now had an admin doing all the open house setup and breakdown, where the only thing my agent really needed to do was show up a little bit before the open house, do the open house, then leave the open house. And I had an admin person doing breaking down, then setting up the next one. So we're kind of like a machine. And what we really do with the open house that really turned out to be even more awesome than awesome, is that awesome squared?
Yeah, it is.
Is that depending on the consumer that came, we would obviously ask the person, do they already have a real estate agent? And if the consumer said yes, it can actually name the real estate agent. I don't have my real estate agent bringing that buyer through. I have my admin person bringing that buyer through, because we're really doing it on behalf of another real estate agent. So my agent would now sit there waiting for another consumer to come who didn't have a real estate agent. Now my agent could start a whole conversation with that consumer, and we only allow 1 party in the house at the same time. We don't allow more than 2 at the same time. So it now created an atmosphere where my agent could start a relationship. Then when my admin person came out with a person who already has an agent, now my agent's going through with another consumer who doesn't have an agent, and let the games begin with LP Ma'am. And for those who don't know who that is, well, that's a whole nother Realty Times with Terry Murphy. So
yeah, LP is a script that everybody, well, we've adapted a higher level, but you're right, so that they can actually concentrate on the prospect, which is the whole purpose.
That's correct.
The open house.
And we've been able to convert more people by doing that. So we now have 3 people there. We have an agent, we have an admin, oh, and we have a lender. So now we've got lots of people. So when we have lines during our open house, the lender gets up and just starts talking to everybody online to see if he can get people pre-approved, pre-qualified, get them as somebody for a mortgage.
Right.
We have my agent going around talking to people. It is such a huge conversion prospect, and is safe for my agent.
It's safe for the seller because you've got somebody around on each floor. What's important here for, if you want the fun factor, is that in the summer, those tables and the ice chest and the water and the balloons and everything are outside.
All outside. Everything's outside.
So the neighbors are going, excuse me, you know, the Seiden team had literally a party, and you're going to put up a sign and buy a box of cookies. How is that going to help you sell my house?
Well, that's great. And I will tell you, we've gotten actually a lot of listings from it. And especially those who haven't sold with another agent, because when another agent does an open house and it's one person and they're letting 2, 3, 4, 5 parties going to the house unescorted, it's a freaking free-for-all. That doesn't happen at a Seiden open house. It's one party at a time, must be escorted. Everybody's together. There is no one person going to one room and another person going, no, because it is the owner's property, and we must secure the owner's property.
And I'm assuming that you prep the seller on this, so you know they're not going to be there, the dog's not going to be there, and that people are going to be going through the property. But are these people that are waiting to get in line? I mean, that creates a certain amount of exclusivity and kind of angst that they're not in the house. Do you find it's easier to get their contact information from there?
Well, it gives us more time to get their contact information. The hardest time to get contact is the first person who comes, or if it's a very slow open house, because they don't want contact information, they just want to go in. So if you can actually create a line, it actually does 2 things. Our data for our database is better because we can collect information, but it actually creates some, oh my goodness, if we really want this house, we better do something about it, because look, there's a line of 2, 3, 4, 5, or 6 other people. And if you really want to get some other listings in the neighborhood, wait till you have a line of 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 people waiting to get online. And I will tell you, are there times that people say, I'm not waiting for this, I'm leaving? Yeah, it happens. Does that mean that person's not going to see the house? No. If that person wants to see the house, they're going to do 1 of 2 things. They'll either call our office, hopefully, to make an appointment, or if they already have another agent, they'll call Sally and say, hey, Sally, we didn't get the open house. There were 8 or 9 people there. Yeah, that's a bad thing to hear, right? We'd like to really get into the house because we're interested. That buyer will get in one way or another.
So that's just brilliant. I just want to clarify for those that are listening, especially if they're new at the business. When you say you have 2 on a day, do you run them like 1 to 3 and then 3 to 5, or how do you run that?
Exactly. We do. That's exactly what we do. We actually start in the morning. We'll do 11 to 12:30 or 11:30 to 1. And then we have an hour break in between, because sometimes even an hour and a half, because our admin person has to break down one open house, has to be able to, I don't know, eat, go to the bathroom, whatever they need to do, get to the next open house, set up that open house with signs, open up the house with lights and everything. So we have a good hour, hour and a half gap between open houses. So we stagger them. We start them earlier and end them earlier in the winter, because it gets dark at 4:30 out here in the winter. And during the spring, summer, and early fall, we start a little later, and then we'll end a little later, obviously. And sometimes the open houses are an hour and a half. That's it. And sometimes the open houses are 2 hours. That's it. Per open house, depending on the time of year, because of daylight.
And also resources, I would say. Are you saying that you probably do at least 8 open houses a month?
Oh, no. We'll do, well, the answer to that is yes and no. We'll do about 8 open houses a month in the winter, like now, kind of end of October, November, December, maybe the first week or two of January when the listing inventory is lower. What I mean, how many new people are putting their homes on the market? So how much inventory do we have? But when we have a lot of inventory, whether it's new or some houses that are just not selling yet, we do 4 in a weekend. So that's 16 open houses per month.
Okay,
at
so
least.
clearly it's a dollar productive activity. And even on your site, which is homeman.net, you
Correct.
actually have a category for homes not sold.
Oh, that's correct. And not only that, we even have a section on there that tells people about what open houses we have going on that coming weekend. We have a brochure that goes there where there's where people can click and it'll go right onto the single property website just for that property. So everything loops into each other, letting people know about the open house, the time of the open house, the date, single property website, whatever they need, it all loops to each other. And of course we do a FaceTime live video right before the open house, letting people know about the open house done by the agent, which is also attached to our website of older open houses. And people, in case someone missed the open house, we have a video.
Wow. So there you go, kids. It's open house on steroids. And to get more information about this amazing man and his team, which has been around, I mean, we're going to go into other things like how you prospect on purpose. We call it prospecting with pizza. You were featured in the headlines this week. I hope you saw that.
Gotta have pizza.
You've got podcast streaming on WHUD radio, which is more of a local span of radio there.
That's correct.
I mean, you're really using the tools. I mean, clearly you've been in the business a long time and you've been able to transform how we've done business and brought it to a higher level. And I know that you believe in systems. You obviously have to have a checklist. You have to have, people that are competent at certain,
Oh yeah.
because once you promise a seller, I mean, we can't mess that up.
That's
and
correct.
Clearly you track what kind of business comes from these open houses. And by the way, it's not hoping to sell a house because of an open house. It's what you do for the surrounding area. Would you agree?
Oh, absolutely. And, and listen, from an open house, of course, we want to sell the house from the open house. But the other big purpose of an open house is to procure buyers, because there's a very, very, very good chance. Matter of fact, there's probably a 95% chance that the buyers coming to the open house are not going to buy that house. So the question is, what's next? Well, you want to be able to procure that buyer.
Right.
And also the great part of this, Terry, is that because we have really cut down the number of hours that an agent has to be at an open house, because I have an admin person doing the setup, have an admin person doing the tear down, I have an admin person doing the signs. It's so much easier to get an agent, and we use a buyer's agent at the open house, not the listing agent, because who's coming to the open houses? Buyers. What a concept. So since the buyer agents now only have to work the new buyers at an open house and don't have to do any administrative or setup or signs, I don't have a problem having agents to do open houses, because it's pure DPA, dollar productive activity, to procure a buyer during a 1.5 or 2 hour time.
And so one final question before we move on to another segment of the Mark Seiden Amazing 57 Ways to Do Business. Do you actually do any 10-10-20s around the given house to invite like the sellers to a pre-inspection, kind of like a private showing?
We haven't done that. We were thinking about doing that. We haven't done that yet, most because of COVID. We actually had a couple of really cool things started that we were planning before COVID. And then we kind of put them aside. But what we do is before the open houses, we do send out a bunch of postcards, probably about somewhere between 200 and 400 postcards, which I know is a lot, but to the surrounding areas, because we found out that a lot of owners in the neighborhood, they actually a lot of times know if people are looking to buy in that area.
Certainly.
So if we let them know that this house is going to be having an open house, we've actually had buyers sent there from other people in the neighborhood that just knew they were looking to look in that area.
Isn't that great? So here's the takeaway from this. There may be 57 ways to do business, but when you kick it up, where there's a fun factor, there's high visibility, there's high accountability, and then there's high return on investment. It makes sense if you're going to invest your Sunday away from your family to do it in a way that is productive for both the seller and the buyer. I know that people want you to speak. I know you're literally an expert on agency law, so that we don't cross, through any gray areas. How could people contact you the best? I mean, I know that you've got homeman.net, but would it be email or phone, or tell us a little bit? Because I think referrals coming to your way would be awesome.
Oh, I appreciate that. Well, again, the easiest way to remember probably is homeman.net. There's always a way, to contact us, and that'll always get to me. My direct number is 914-762-2200. And I am extension, it's a real hard one. Ready? 222.
Oh my.
It's my birthday, February 22nd.
That's
222.
correct.
Yeah. Or they can always email me, which goes directly to me, doesn't go to anybody else, which is M for Mark, M Seiden, SEIDEN @homeman.net. So I'm pretty easy to get, and I will help anybody with anything.
Yeah, I really admire you as a professional. I know that even on the site you advertise and learn more about New York Fair Housing Act. It's clear that you're one of the influencers in our industry, Mark, and I'm so glad to know you. But more than that, it's just fun to work with you. Thanks for joining us here at Realty Times. I know you're going to be doing some additional programs on scripts. You have written some amazing scripts. So join us again for another segment of Realty Times. Women in Business, Women in Real Estate in the Men's Room with Murph, and visit Mark at Mark Seiden, real estate company in New York, for great partnerships. So thanks for joining us.
Oh, Terry, thank you so much for having me.